Hi everybody, Beige here, and today we're going to be going over the official Siege Airsoft rules and guidelines. This video will be covering pretty much all the information that you're going to need to play on our field and to know what's going on, so that way we can ensure a good play experience for everybody. When you're coming in to play Airsoft, we do expect a degree of maturity from our players, as well as things like spirit of the game and not gaming our rules. The spirit of the game means that make sure the game flows organically and naturally. Don't try to bend or game the rules in your favor. So please everybody, be appropriate. We do expect maturity like I said before, and let's get started. Before coming into Siege Airsoft, you want to make sure that you have all of your things squared away and all of your tally marks checked. This means making sure that your waiver is filled out beforehand, as well as making sure that you are registered for the day. Detailed information on how to pre-book and register for your session can be found on a video below in our description box. Make sure that your guns are stored in a proper container, box, or gun bag, and make sure no parts are sticking out. While it might be only a few meters from the car to the field, out in the parking lot, that is considered public property and public space. Walking with an exposed airsoft gun out in the public is not a good thing, and we reserve the right to deny service to anybody that does so on our field. When handling a gun in the safe area, we do want to make sure that the magazine is out, the chamber is clear, the weapon is on safe, and for rifles, the barrel sock is on. If you're using a handgun or a pistol of any kind, we do not require barrel socks to be on these guys, but please be sure that the magazine is out, and if possible, lock the slide to the rear, or simply just holster your weapon like so. When you're out here handling any airsoft guns, please always keep the guns pointed in a safe direction, away from people, and please keep your finger off the trigger. If we can follow all those rules, then we won't have any accidents happening within the staging area. The rules for eye protection, or eye pro at Siege, are pretty simple. It must be full seal, so it forms a seal around your eye so no BBs can get in through the sides. It must have a retention strap in the back, and it also must be rated with Z87.1 plus ANSI rating or higher. Goggles that don't meet our safety requirements are going to be denied for field use. If they're kind of in a gray area where sometimes the lenses aren't marked and stuff like that, they will be tested by us and they will be denied or allowed at our discretion and at your risk. The rules for usage of eye protection are pretty simple here at Siege. Before you enter the field, make sure that your eye pro is on and do not take it off under any circumstances. When exiting the field, make sure it remains on and don't take it off until you are well off the field. Face protection or face pro. Face pro is anything like a paintball mask or a mesh mask or something of that sort. Face protection at Siege Airsoft is optional. However, it is highly recommended as BBs can and will take out teeth and cause dental injuries. For minors, however, face protection is mandatory, so watch out for those baby teeth out there. FPS rules here at Siege Airsoft. Most AEGs that you will buy in Canada will be shooting above 380 FPS. This is because of importation reasons, so be sure that you know what gun you have, test it at the retailer if they let you before you buy it or after you buy it, and get the necessary spring change or velocity reduction to meet our limits. For AEGs, our limits are 380 FPS with the hop-up off with a 0.2 gram BB, or any BB up to 0.3 grams shooting at 1.34 joules with the hop-up off. HPA and gas guns will follow the same rules as above. However, we do crony those in joules, so be sure your gun is shooting 1.34 joules with the hop-up off with any BB up to a 0.3. The reason we use joules for HPA and gas is because those systems are more susceptible to a phenomenon known as joule creep. The basic explanation is that they're able to push a heavier BB at a higher amount of joules than a lighter BB because they have a lot more air volume behind them. Now, a common question we get is why do we crony with the hop-up off? And the reason that is because people can cheat the chronograph using the hop-up, and we don't want to have any incidences here where people are shooting above our field limits. The hop-up applies friction down on the BB to give it backspin and range. However, if someone's gun is shooting hot, they can simply just crank the hop-up all the way up and reduce their FPS, and we turn the hop-up off on all of the guns that we chrono to make sure that we have the true FPS reading of the gun. Once you're chronographed, the referee or volunteer at the chrono will give you a tag, and they'll tag the gun in a location of your choice that is easily visible and doesn't fall off. Now we're going to get into game etiquette and behavior. Remember that Siege and Airsoft as a whole is a community-based activity. So that means that the day and the games running that day are only going to be as good as the community and players that show up that day. That being said, please make sure that you understand the rules of the game. We will be giving players more tools to make sure that they stay on the timings, so there will be a schedule posted on our wall with the game modes being run that day, as well as the times that are being run. So be on time. This means when you're coming off for a game, reload first, then take your little water break or chat break after you reload, so that way when the ref calls for the next game, we are ready to go. That being said, please be sure to show up to briefings, and please stay quiet and attentive during briefings so that everybody knows what's going on. For the experienced players out there, make sure you help the newer players once you understand the rules. If they get confused in-game, it really helps out the flow of the day. Also, as a general rule in the staging area in terms of etiquette, please clean up after yourselves and keep your area clean. We do have a list of restricted items here at Siege. These will not be allowed due to gameplay reasons or due to safety concerns. Obviously, we don't allow pyrotechnic and smoke grenades of any kind. We don't allow any metal bladed weapons or bayonets. We don't allow shields at our field. Now, some of you might be complaining about that, but leave the Captain America shield at home. We don't allow any visible lasers on the field. We also don't allow the usage of red lights on the field. Red lights are meant for kill lights only and may confuse players and patrons. We don't allow bio BBs at our field because they tend to shatter at close quarters and if they ricochet off hard surfaces. We also obviously don't allow any glass, metal, or silica BBs. BBs above 0.3 grams are also not allowed. They tend to have heavy jewel creep issues with certain guns, and because it's CQB, anything above a 0.3 is just wasting money anyways, so make sure your BBs are 0.3 grams or under. All guns that come to our field must have a functioning safety and trigger guard. We don't want any accidents happening here on the field. You are only allowed to also have one finger on the trigger when firing, so blade triggers at Siege are also banned. Handling lost goods and other people's property. We have a very general rule of thumb here, is that make sure you ask before you touch anything that doesn't belong to you. Please be sure if you see a lost item on the field to just leave it there and let the ref know, or take it and bring it to the ref at the end of the game. In terms of theft, don't do it. Players caught stealing things or interacting with things they're not supposed to are just going to be reported to police and local law enforcement. We don't tolerate theft at our community at all. Everybody knows that we all spend a lot of money on these items. So please guys, none of that behavior here. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff, which is going to be the rules of engagement. What kind of rules do I have to follow when I'm on the field playing airsoft? We want to create a self-policing and self-aware community, and this starts with having a bit of a pyramid of priority or a structured amount of concern. This obviously starts off with you. So make sure that you are self-aware, make sure that you're calling your own hits, that your gun is zeroed, you're good to go, and you know your kit intimately. Please everybody, don't call out other people's hit calling if your own accuracy is questionable. The first thing that our referees here are going to do, if you do say someone is cheating, is to check the zero and accuracy of your gun. There have been many cases at Siege where we check the zero and accuracy of someone's gun, and that person's hop-up isn't even on, or their gun is shooting 25 inches to the left or right. So if your gun is not shooting straight and you do not know how to do that, you don't have the right to call anybody out on their behavior. At the bottom of the pyramid is you. The second layer is going to be your teammates. Now, one thing that is very common in Airsoft is the sentiment of not wanting to play against cheaters, which is totally correct and fair. However, here at Siege, we don't want to play with them either. Make sure that your team is accountable for their actions. This includes the people that you come with, your squad mates, your fire team, whatever you want to call them. If you see your teammate is not understanding the rules, has trouble aiming, or is shrugging hits, help them out. Be sure to let them know and to police their honesty. If for some reason a player on the other team is causing issues, please come up to one of us as staff members and we'll try to sort it out with you as best as we can. Hit calling and being dead. Now obviously, Airsoft is an honor-based sport. Having honorable play is not a goal, it is the baseline for everything in Airsoft to work. It only takes one BB to kill you, whether that hits you on the head, the fingertip, the toe, center mass, whatever. It doesn't matter where that BB hits you. If you feel that you get hit by a BB, please call yourself out. When you get hit, immediately yell hit, put your hand or your gun up, and walk back to respawn or off the field or wherever, depending on the game rules. Dead players are not to communicate with live players in any way. This doesn't just include dead men don't talk, this also includes gesticulating or pointing towards where live players may be, or gesticulating or pointing towards objectives. If you're unsure that you got hit, just call it out anyways. When in doubt, call it out. It's a good golden rule to abide by. Friendly fire does count, so make sure to ID your targets and you know who you are shooting before you shoot them. Ricochets off walls don't count, However, just use your best judgment when it comes to ricochet hits. And finally, you cannot uncall a hit. If let's say you call it a ricochet and you realize it was a ricochet after the fact, you can't put your hand down and go back in the game. Once you call out, you are out until you respawn back or do what the game rules dictate. Hit calling disputes. So in the event of a trade where both players shoot each other at the same time, you guys are both out. Please do not force trade people. If you get shot, you are out. If you get shot in the back, that does not give you a right to turn around and shoot the other person. Super annoying, super unsportsmanlike. Please don't do that. Gun hits. So a gun hit is defined when your gun gets struck with a BB. Gun hits don't mean that you're out. However, that does mean that the weapon that gets hit is out for 10 seconds. When your gun gets hit, you must loudly yell gun hit. Then you must count down audibly from 10. We don't want to see a really fast count like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. No, it needs to be a 10 full second count. 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way to 1. Then you can say back in, and then you can use that gun again. Alternatively, you may draw your pistol and use that. However, you still have to yell gun hit, and you still have to count down while your pistol is out. While your gun is hit, you may move around and act as normal, except without that weapon. Mercy rules and minimum engagement distances. Here at Siege, we're a no weenies field. There are no mercy rules here or minimum engagement distances. This is to prevent ambiguity. I understand that people might be concerned about safety or concerned about being nice. However, airsoft guns were expressly designed, especially within the CQB FPS, not to hurt anybody too seriously. That being said, please do not give a shot that you wouldn't take. Mercies are also to be taken and given in your discretion. If you go up to a player and mercy them from behind, that player could turn around and shoot you. If you do decide to mercy someone, it must be given from a flanking angle. It cannot be given face to face. You must be behind or to the side of someone that isn't aware of your presence. General weapon rules of engagement. Unless stated by a ref for specific game modes, all game modes at Siege are going to be semi-automatic only. This means your gun must be able to fire 1 BB per trigger pull and release. We do not allow burst fire, automatic, or binary triggers here at Siege Airsoft. Try not to overshoot or bonus ball players. However, do also understand that players might be shooting in a lane where other players might be, even if you're dead. Please do not yell at them and say stop shooting. They're just doing what you would do if you were in that position. When you're dead, the best thing to do is to stay silent, yell hit, maybe say nice shot, go back to spawn, and then come back in game. Blind fire. So for the newer players out there, blind firing involves not seeing your target, shooting around cover with your wrist canted, and not being able to ID what you're shooting. We don't allow blind fire at Siege because it's dangerous. You could be shooting someone you don't know. It's unsportsmanlike, and it's also not fair to the gameplay of CQB. The gun must be pointed to the target, the stock must be in the shoulder, and the wrists must not be canted around cover. To shoot a pistol, your head must be around the cover before or at the same time the gun is. The wrist must not be canted around cover like this, and you must be able to see and ID the target properly. This also includes any windows or plexiglass walls we have on the field. Just because you can see through them doesn't mean you can put your hand around them and shoot through them as if they were a plastic shield. For all intents and purposes, they're just like a normal wall. You must peek around them to be able to shoot. Melee weapon rules. So for melee weapons, they must be made of plastic, rubber, or some other soft material. Please don't use any metal or any bladed weapons, of course, here at Siege Airsoft. Also, to kill someone with a melee weapon at Siege, it's just a light tap, no stabbing or slashing. Melee weapons can also not be used as blind firing, so you can't just stab someone around the corner like that. It has to be given at a flanking angle, side, or to the back. Melee weapons are also not allowed to be mounted on your gun as a bayonet. We don't want the weight of the gun going into a person. Grenades. Grenades operate on good faith. If you feel that a grenade has killed you, it likely has, so please be honest with your grenade kills. We don't have a minimum kill radius here at Siege Airsoft. For BB spewing grenades like a tornado or an ERAS or something of the sort, it's going to be BB hit, BB kill. If a BB hits you from that grenade, or you feel that a BB has hit you from that grenade, you're dead. Duds and non-exploded grenades do not count as a hit. It's best practice to yell grenade out or frag out when throwing a grenade. This doesn't just allow people to make sure that they know the grenade is coming so that they can call hit. It's also just a generally good safety measure. Grenades can only be thrown from places of symmetrical engagement. This means that grenades can be thrown through doorways and windows and up to the second floor safely. This means that you cannot throw grenades across the field where you can't be shooting someone, or across buildings, or something like the kill house where it has tall walls but no roof. You can't be throwing grenades on top of the kill house wall because there's no way you can hit that person there. It's not fair play, so please don't do that. For open play and newbie night sessions, the only noise grenade that we will allow is the XL burst with one burst disc only. This does not count as a kill, it is merely a distraction device, so use that at your own discretion. Launcher grenades. If you're using a grenade launcher, please be mindful that it does shoot a lot of BBs at once, but they are allowed. We do not allow any pyro or vehicle killing grenades here, of course. Grenades must be shower shell. The only other grenade we allow for grenade launchers is going to be the Airsoft Innovations Master Mic. Please do not use the big mic. Please do not fill grenades with anything but green gas at Siege Airsoft. Machine gun rules. If you want to use automatic fire on your machine gun, you're allowed to do so, provided that the machine gun is shooting within field limits, of course, does not shoot higher than 30 rounds per second, and also shoots with 3 to 5 round bursts on automatic. If you decide to bring a machine gun to Siege Airsoft, it must be a replica of a real machine gun. So your M4 or MP5 or SSG with a drum mag does not count. It must be something like an M249, an RPK, a PKM, so on and so forth. Ultimately, it is up to the staff's discretion what is considered a machine gun at Siege and what isn't. So if you're not sure, please give us a call or an email and we'll help you out with that. The machine gun also has a minimum engagement distance of 25 feet. If a player comes within that engagement distance, the machine gunner must either switch to semi-automatic or pull out a secondary weapon to engage that enemy player. Please, everybody, respect the property here at Siege Airsoft. The staff and volunteers have worked really hard to build an awesome CQB for our players out there. So please don't overshoot the cover. If you need to shoot your gun or clear your chamber or just want to play around with it, we do have a range with proper targets designed to be shot at. Please do not climb any of the cover or furniture at Siege Airsoft. Most surfaces will be marked with a do not step spray on them. Please do not shoot any of the lights at Siege Airsoft, and please don't shoot the ref tower or any spectators on the field. Now on to our final rule, which is going to be the no duff rule. Now no duff is going to be a safe word here at Siege Airsoft if an emergency on the field happens. Let's say someone's eye protection falls off, somebody trips, breaks their ankle, can't get up, or something happens on the field that warrants the stoppage of the game. If you hear someone calling no duff, it's kind of like a big game of broken telephone. Just yell it as loud as you can until the whole field and the referee recognizes the emergency situation. Immediately make their weapon safe, take the magazine out, do not clear the chamber or fire the gun please, and just put the barrel stock on and put the gun on safe, and stop playing the game. The referee will then come down out of the tower, or somebody from the front desk will come up, assess the situation, and either stop the game, ask all players to leave the field, or resume the game once the issue is resolved. So that pretty much covers everything here at Siege Airsoft in terms of rules and guidelines. We also have a full list of rules on our website at Siege Airsoft under the About and Rules sections in the top toolbar, so please give that an intimate read before you come out to our field. If you have any questions about the rules or need any clarification, please email us, call us, or leave us a message on any of our social media outlets. We hope to see you here, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.